Not everyone has access to fiber optic internet, but practically everyone wants to have a good, stable, and reasonably fast connection. D-Link sent me this set for testing. A router with Wi-Fi 6 and a strong external antenna that's resistant to all weather conditions. And you know what? This combo works much better than any other solution I've tested so far. Moving the antenna outside tripled my transfer speeds compared to having the modem by the window, which is quite surprising because in my apartment I already have full long-term evolution and 5G coverage, so I just assumed that an external antenna wouldn't change much. And yet that's why if you're forced to use a cellular network, then this material is definitely for you from this side. Powell, do you watch Techmaniac HD? You may be wondering if adding an external antenna will actually boost your speeds at your location. I absolutely understand that. That's why, before we dive into what the kit consists of, what it looks like and how to set it up, I'll get straight to the point and answer that question for you. Inside, there are 4 directional antennas that will give you much better coverage, even in places where your smartphone barely works. What's more interesting is that if you have excellent cellular signal at your location and you see full bars on your smartphone even indoors, you should know that long-term evolution and 5G cellular waves are easily blocked even by the smallest obstacles. A simple test by the window, my smartphone downloads at over 400 Mbps and uploads at 112 Mbps just to confirm. I'm running the test 3 times and the values stay near 400 Mbps with uploads close to 90. Next, I step onto the balcony, place the smartphone at the same floor height and repeat the test. What do we see? Download speeds rose to 550 Mbps just a meter away, 150 megabits faster, and upload increased to 130. Ping also dropped from around 25 milliseconds to about 15. However, what's important is that this still isn't the ideal location for the phone. After all, I can't just hang it out on the balcony, and I won't leave a smartphone or even a standard router out in the rain, in the cold, or in the summer sun. Another thing is that from here, it wouldn't be possible to cover the rest of the apartment, whereas with the set that D-Link offers, that's not a problem at all. The antenna is of course resistant to all weather conditions and can hang here all year round. The small, elegant router will provide fast Wi-Fi 6 coverage throughout the apartment. Installation is very simple. With a flat screwdriver and the included clamps, you can attach the antenna to the gutter or a satellite dish mount, any rod on the chimney or, like me, to the balcony railing. It may not be the most elegant solution, but it works, and for now, at least for testing purposes, it's more than enough for me. I suppose anyone could install such an antenna, but if someone really has trouble with it, by all means, let me know. Even just wedging it between the balcony glass and the air conditioner gave me over 700 megabits per second download and 160 upload. I guess you probably already have some idea where you would attach it. But another issue that keeps you up at night is what to use and how many holes you need to drill, for example, in the apartment you're renting, just to finally have some decent internet. Because if you think about it, such an antenna needs a thick cable for power and connections. It immediately makes you not want to bother. Rented or not, even in a house on a plot, I wouldn't want to run any external power cables or make holes in the walls. I suppose that such a requirement would immediately discourage a significant number of potential users. Fortunately, the issue has been very well thought out. At home, you have a thick power cable, a power injector, the black box, a router and its small power supply, but the power injector handles both power and communication with the antenna. There are quite a few cables, but at home you can definitely tuck them away neatly somewhere. As for the power injector itself, this is how it works. You connect the Ethernet cable to that black box in the port labeled Power over Ethernet, which stands for Power over Ethernet, meaning it's literally power supplied through the Ethernet cable along with all the required communication. It's about 2 mm thick and easily fits under door or window seals. I'd suggest placing it on the hinge side, where it'll only be pressed by soft seals. Over time, such a cable will settle, take shape, and last for many years, even if you have to place it in a less than ideal spot. If it gets rubbed by the door or window frame, replacing it would cost between 20 and 30 zlotys, which shouldn't be a big deal. And this one modest little cable is enough to power the antenna and transmit data at a speed of 1 gigabit per second. I guess it's usually the installation that raises the most concerns, but as you saw yourself, it's a piece of cake. So now we can calmly discuss all the other but really important elements of this set, starting with the unboxing on the back of the package. The manufacturer lists a few of the most obvious situations where this set can be a perfect fit: a suburban home, woodland house or land, mobile shop, and camper. Inside there's a QR code that lets you download the app. The smaller box contains a router that supports the latest Wi-Fi protected access, 3 security technology, and Wi-Fi 6 capable of transmitting data at a maximum speed of 1200 megabits per second. The big box contains paperwork, 2 metal mounting brackets, 4 wall plugs, and 4 screws. Yes, in case we can't resist the temptation to attach the antenna to the building wall. And as mentioned before, the 10-meter flat cable. If this is too short, I'll add links to longer versions in the description. We can use a cable up to 100 meters long here. Underneath, we'll find the power cable, the power injector, and the antenna, and maybe let's take a look at the antenna first. On one of the sides, 2 LED indicators are visible through the casing, and thanks to them, we can quickly analyze the situation. The first one indicates the signal level. No LED means no signal. Red means the range is so-so. A blinking blue indicates a good level, and a solid blue tells us the range is excellent. When the lower LED lights up green, it means we're connected to a long-term evolution or 3G network. Blue means 5G. At the back, there's an aluminum heatsink that helps maintain the proper temperature of the internal components. The mounting foot is built into the case bottom, secured by 4 screws. After removing it, you can access 6 more screws that also need to be unscrewed. There's a slot for the card only below them, micro SIM, Ethernet cable port, reset button, and a button to activate the built-in Wi-Fi antenna, although you can also activate it later in the software itself. As you can see, there's a waterproof cable gland here. You just need to unscrew the whole thing, thread it through the rings, and of course put the gasket through the bottom of the housing with the leg, tighten it, and screw everything together really well. Remember, this is a directional antenna, and before the final installation, it's worth taking some time to find the best location and direction. Although I have to admit, for the first 3 months, the antenna was just wedged between the air conditioner's window at my place. You know, it was winter, wet and windy, so it just sat there and provided much better speeds than the router on the window. It was only when it got warmer that I was able to play around with it more. And indeed, by turning it one way or the other, you can gain or lose 100 to 200 megabits per second, but you don't have to do it blindly. Well, the EasySide Survey app simplifies the configuration process and will help us determine which direction to point the antenna, at least in theory. I tried the app on 2 phones and on each one it worked kind of, well, a bit strangely. But let's move on now to the M15 router, which in terms of design is similar to the external antenna. Here and here we have rounded edges and the same color accent. On the front, there's a pretty bright LED that informs us about the connection status. Fortunately, the software allows you to turn it off, and it only activates when it loses connection to the internet. On the back, there are only 2 gigabit RJ45 ports, a yellow one which receives the internet from the power injector, and a second one to which you can optionally connect a console or a desktop computer. There's a power adapter socket, a reset button, and a Wi-Fi protected setup button for quick Wi-Fi device connections. The router doesn't have any external antennas, but if placed in the center of the apartment, it should cover a small area without any major problems. Although the real beauty is that this is a mesh system, which means that if needed, we can buy a second unit, or even several of them, and cover up to 500 square meters. I'll leave links to such sets in the description of this video as well, so it's worth checking out. Wi-Fi 2.4 GHz can reach speeds up to 300 Mbps, while 5 GHz can go up to 1200 Mbps. So in theory, it shouldn't be a bottleneck. Alright, the external antenna, power injector, and router all consume some amount of energy, and as we know, the price per kWh is only going up, so I'm happy to inform you that the whole set consumes between 8.5 and 9 watts without any special load. Few devices were connected to the router via Wi-Fi, including cameras that constantly transmit small amounts of data. A second wired router was connected to the cloud, supplying Wi-Fi to devices 1 floor below. However, downloading data at full speed increased the power consumption of the entire set to around 14-15 watts. But let's talk about speeds now. According to the manufacturer's specifications, the maximum download speed on long-term evolution is up to 1 Gbit per second upload up to 200 megabytes, while for 5G it's 1 Gbit down and 600 Mbit up respectively. These are, of course, the maximum values we can achieve, assuming that the network infrastructure of the operator we use allows for it. And as we know, it's not always that great with that. I'm aware that my operator, as well as the location I'm in, aren't the worst, but at the same time, I have to emphasize that the operator's network, at least in terms of technology, still doesn't allow for the full use of the D-Link set. In Anten, we can force 5G standalone or N standalone mode. The first one is an autonomous 5G version that operates independently of 4G. It allows for the full use of new 5G capabilities such as ultra-low latency and high reliability, but it requires building a new dedicated infrastructure, and that costs operators a lot of money. On the other hand, 5G non-standalone is integrated with the 4G network. It's kind of a transitional stage, but at the same time much cheaper to implement. Unfortunately, it doesn't yet provide the full potential of 5G, but it already allows for increased transfer speeds and reduced latency. My carrier doesn't support full 5G yet, so we have to settle for tests done on this transitional technology. However, the results are, at least for me, very satisfying compared to what I had before. The average download speeds measured in the morning are around 800 megabits per second upload up to 160, and the ping of 11-13 milliseconds may not be perfect yet, but it can already put many wired internet providers to shame. Running 3 noon tests, we observe around 650 Mbps download and 130-150 Mbps upload. Network load should increase in the later hours, but as we can see here, after 6 post-meridian we have an average of 750 megabits per second download and about 120 upload. I did the last batch of tests after 10 post-meridian, and here we record the lowest speeds. 500 megabits down and 130-140 up. My operator's transitional 5G doesn't let me hit 1 gigabit per second, but it's already close. The most important thing is that this set can technically reach such values over time, and as the infrastructure develops, the antenna can aggregate up to 4 bands at once, enabling long-term evolution download speeds of 360 to just over 400 megabits per second. Uploading won't be as fast as on 5G, but 60 megabits per second is still a pretty satisfactory result for this technology. The ping is between 30 and 40 milliseconds, which I would still say is a satisfactory result. We can manage both devices through a mobile app called D-Link Falcon. It features an easy-to-use interface. The main screen displays antenna signal strength, the router, and connected client count. All you have to do is tap the element you're interested in, and as you can see here, all connected devices are displayed through Wi-Fi or wired connection. By tapping the antenna, we can change the connection method, check the amount of data used, or set a data limit. You can also set the calibration date here. There is also an option to automatically send a short message service warning to our number when data usage reaches the level we set. The mobile app allows you to manage parental controls by setting a network availability schedule for designated devices. We can block access during sleep hours or allow it only at specific times. For a parent, this is a great convenience. Let's say our child comes back from school and can use the internet on their devices. Only between 3 o'clock post-meridian and 5 o'clock post-meridian, a bit longer on Friday, and in the evening there's also a short time from 9 o'clock post-meridian to 9:30 post-meridian. You can set a separate schedule for each day of the week. Importantly, the app works through an online D-Link account, so you don't have to be connected to the router, and you can manage all the settings even from the other side of the world. If we're at work and our child hasn't completed the tasks we've assigned, we can change their internet access hours or even completely block any devices connected to the network. So the app can really be useful, and it's worth having it at hand. However, more advanced settings are only available through the browser, whether on a phone or computer, such as managing domain name system firewall, port forwarding, setting up VPNs, administrators, updates, and many, many more. There's also a setup assistant here, which further simplifies the whole process. It only takes a few minutes and you're done. However, not everything is perfect. We can't choose the base station ourselves here and must use whatever the automatic system selects. Anyway, since we're already talking about the drawbacks of today's set, I also don't like that the M15 has only one area of 45 output. On the other hand, when it comes to advantages, in my opinion, the simplicity and, to put it colloquially, the straightforwardness of the software is actually an advantage of this product. Most of us buy such a set because we want a better, faster network connection than what we've had so far, and hardly anyone wants to delve into the details and play at being a network engineer. Here we just connect a few cables, the app shows us which way to turn it, and that's it. Done. The device starts up and makes sure we have the fastest internet possible so we can get back to more important things. So I would be satisfied with a set like this. The whole thing isn't exactly super cheap. As always, you can find the price in the description below. But in one package, we get a well-cooperating, compatible set of devices that just works. If you enjoyed this material, be sure to visit my website www.techmaniachd.pl. Thanks to the intuitive menu, you'll definitely find more inspiring content there. See you in the next one.